Happy Saturday, everybody. How's everybody doing this Saturday? 63 degrees, 9:30 in the morning. All right, so many people tell me, share your story. Share your story. Talk about your story. And I've been thinking about that and pondering that idea of like, yeah, I'm going to share my story. Hi. Thanks for joining in. So I have been pondering the idea of like, okay, what is my story? There's so much to my story. Where do I even start? You know, my story, really, where do I start? That's led to where I am today. Like, I'm running a wellness business. After 24 years of having a successful career in traditional medicine, starting a business is nothing easy. Those of you that are entrepreneurs and who have started or who have a business, you know that it takes a lot of work. You probably work more running your own business than working for somebody else. And you make less money. Who does that, right? So I've been pondering the idea of like, where do I start? Happy Mother's Day weekend, by the way. I see these little sands with like flowers. So where do I start? You know, my story starts as a child. Like, I used to dream of creating impact and helping people all around the world. And I didn't know what that was, but I just had that desire in my heart. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And my mom used to always say, like, I used to always say, Mom, I'm gonna be in the military and I'm gonna help people all over the world. That was my idea as a little kid, of helping people around the world. Like, I was gonna be a soldier. I was gonna be in the military. And I wanted to be a nurse. And my mom used to always say, like, military is for boys. You're not a boy, you're a girl. And I know that if she were alive, I probably would not have joined the military, because I had so much respect for her. What she said went, you know, and we just followed what she did, or did what she said. So she passed away when I was 14. And at 17, I signed up to the military because, first of all, I felt like I was living under the guardianship of a relative. And I kind of felt like they're not responsible for me. I need to go live my life. And I signed up to join the military. I left. I went to boot camp. And I wanted to be a nurse, but I just didn't know. I didn't believe I was smart enough. That's the truth. I didn't believe I was smart enough. I used to look around and be like, gosh, all these people are so smart. You know, they get good grades in high school. They get scholarships. Like, I used to think I just wasn't smart enough. And so I joined the military thinking, well, maybe they can help me pay for college or something. I don't know. Like, I really was lost. I was lost in this world. I knew deep down what I was supposed to do. I just didn't know how to get there. And I kind of felt like I really didn't have guidance in life, you know. But now I understand. My mom had to go, because if she was here, I probably would never have done that. I had so much respect for her. I would not have left to join the military. So I joined the military. My father was not in my life. he was in my life up until 8 years old, and my parents split up. That's a whole nother part of my story. And I used to look at other people, like my friends that had their mom and dad, and I used to desire that. I used to wish that I had that. I used to be, I used to think like, man, their lives are so perfect. Why can't mine be like that? Anyways, that's part of my story. And I'm being completely transparent and vulnerable with you guys right now. I hope you guys take this for what it is. So I joined the military. I didn't know what the heck I was gonna do, what to expect. I was like, I have to do this because I don't have any other way. I joined the military, I joined the Navy. They basically handed my job rating like, this is what you're doing. I didn't know that I had a choice. So my whole life I kind of felt like I wanted somebody to show up and rescue me and guide me, and I just didn't have that. So I just took whatever life threw at me. I did. I just felt like I'm supposed to just take whatever life throws at me because I don't have a choice. I don't have a voice. I felt like I didn't have a voice to choose what I wanted. So I knew what I wanted. I just didn't know how to get there, and I didn't know that I had it within me to do it. So I joined the military. I was there. I ended up getting out after a couple of years. I went to I was what's called a boatswain mate. I worked on boats in the military. Then I got out. I was still in the reserves. I got recalled after 9/11. And I knew that I wanted to be a nurse. So in the military, I did like the courses to transition into the medical side, which thankfully I took the test and I passed, and I transitioned into the what's called corpsman side. That was medical. And then also in the civilian side, I went to school. I started taking classes so that I could become a nurse. Because I kind of felt like, oh, the military isn't like, it isn't what I pictured. Like, it's not like what I thought it was, and I didn't feel like I was really making a difference. I really didn't feel like I was helping. So I was like, this isn't it. So I went into medicine, into healthcare. I became a nurse, and I worked for many years. I was in that field for 24 years. I worked in different areas. I worked in outpatient imaging. I did home health. I did mental health for several years. I worked in medical surgical floors. I floated everywhere. So I did the whole medical thing, and then I realized that just wasn't it. That wasn't it. There was more. There was no fulfillment there. And you see all the revolving door of the patients, the same people coming in through the hospital. Thanks for joining in, everybody. You see the revolving door of the same people coming in and going, and in the back of my mind, it's like I always also wanted to know, like, what really happened to my mom, because she was fine, and then all of a sudden she gets this diagnosis, and they tell her you have 30 days to live, and in 30 days she died. She was gone. It was like, boom, you're out of here. And so it was just like, what happened? I want to know. And if I can help somebody not go through this, I'm gonna do it. So I went into traditional medicine wanting to know what really happened. I wanted to learn the body. I wanted to learn the disease, the disease process. I wanted to learn all of this because in the back of my mind is I've got to figure out what really happened to my mom. God has such a mysterious way of getting your attention and getting you to learn and getting you to sit still and just... We hit a crisis with my son, my youngest son. And 3 years into treatment with 6 different doctors later, they couldn't figure it out. The last thing they threw at us was immune suppressant therapy. Guys, that was going to cost us $600 a month. And they had said for the rest of his life, this is it. Get used to living this way. This is for the rest of your life. And it is what it is. That wasn't good enough for me. I kept reflecting on the fact that I lost my mom. I lost my mom when I was 14. And now I'm facing this issue, this challenge with my son, and I felt like I was losing him, and I just wasn't willing to lose again. Grief has always been a big part of my life, and I always felt like I was losing. I was running behind in life. Life was all of my outlook on life is, why am I always losing? And I just wasn't willing to lose again, not my child. So I had to figure it out. I had to step in and start to question and be the voice for him. So 3 months into it, we got answers. What traditional medicine said wasn't possible, now they're looking at us like, how the heck did you do this? And then I felt like, you know what? We got our answers. Life goes on. I'm happy. Thank you, God. But during the process that I was going through my son, I used to pray and I used to ask God, God, give me knowledge. Give me wisdom. Give me guidance. I asked for knowledge. I asked for wisdom. I asked for courage to face whatever it was that I needed to face to help him. And you know what? I've learned, be careful what you ask for, because God will give it to you. He will give it to you. I felt like a bandage was taken off of my eyes, and I had a different perspective to medicine, to healing, to the body. And we found answers. Answers that in traditional medicine were not possible. So I used to go to work and I used to, just do my thing. Go to work, get a paycheck. And I tried to block that part out, like, it's my work. It's what I do for a living. It's how I get paid. But in the back of my mind, it was always like, what are you going to do now? You asked God for these things and He gave them to you. And now you found answers for your son. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do with this? And I had prayed during the whole time when I was going through that crisis and the challenge with my son. And it was very difficult, not just for me, but for him, for all of us in our family. My oldest son, my husband, all of us. We all went through it together. And I used to always say, God, I used to question, why him? He's a baby, he's a child, why him? And I realized, I learned one day, it just kicked in and I was like, who are you to question God, why? Instead, ask Him, what is the purpose of this? Show me the purpose. And I used to say to God, God, show me the purpose of this. I will give you whatever you want of me, but please heal my son. It took me out of my comfort zone. I had to push myself to very uncomfortable places. I had to shift my mindset to things that I had never been taught. I had to think outside the box. I had to think opposite of what the norm was and question a lot of things. I had to question question everything. And I had to dive in, not knowing what really I was doing. And within 90 days, you guys, we found answers that traditional medicine had said was not possible. And when I used to go to work and I used to see the patients come through the revolving door over and over and over, and they're desperate, they're seeking answers, and we can't give them to them. It started to tug at my heart, like, there's more that you are to do. And what are you gonna do with what I gave you? I used to say to God, I'll give you whatever you want of me. Heal my son. And those words kept lingering in the back of my mind. You said you would give me whatever I want if I gave you answers. If I made your son better. I give all the glory to God. I really do. It wasn't me. It was through his guidance, through the knowledge he gave me, through the wisdom he implanted in me, all of it. It was given by him. So it was like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now that you have answers, now that life is great again for you, what are you going to do, Alicia? And I felt a sense of responsibility. It was a sense of responsibility of, you've got work to do. God has called you to do work. Now you know both sides of the spectrum. You know both sides, traditional and holistic. What are you going to do with this? So I always, knew, like, okay, yeah, I'm going to, sounds great. I would love to have a wellness spot and help people. And it was this, like, great idea, right, of stepping into your purpose. But guess what? It was scary. Why? Because, again, now it's taking you out of your comfort zone. It was going to take me out of the norm. Going to work, getting a paycheck, and being comfortable, doing this wellness stuff, whenever, here and there, whenever. And then 2020 happened. What happened in 2020? 2020 happened, and then all of a sudden, things were pushed on healthcare workers. Things were pushed on healthcare workers, and otherwise you were going to lose your career, your profession, not just your job. You could, after 2020 and the whole, you guys know what I'm talking about, the whole mandate thing, it was like, now, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go get a job? So that pushed me over the edge. It's like, I have to do this now. I don't have a choice. I lost my brother in 2021. I bumped heads with his doctors, all of them, because I was challenging them to think outside the box, and they wouldn't. And you know what they said at one point? They were like, we thought you would understand. You're a nurse. You're a registered nurse. You're a healthcare worker. You work among us. We would think that you would understand where we are coming from. We don't have answers. You know what I said at that point? I said, I'm not a registered nurse right now. I am someone's relative, someone's voice. And I'm challenging you to what else you can do to help that person, which is the same thing that I had to do for my son. I bumped heads with the pediatricians. I bumped heads with all of them because I started to question. And they didn't like it. I wasn't a nurse at that point. I was a voice for my relative. I was a voice for my son. I was a voice. I was the advocate. I was fighting for them because I was not willing to lose again. lost my mom at 14 for something that probably could have been avoided. So I had to make a decision after 2020-21. I had to make a decision. I had to stay in the comfort zone, and I had to do what was told of me to do. I had to go against my own integrity. I had to do what was forced upon me, or I had to make my own choices and walk away from a 20+ year career and profession, which was all I knew. And guess what, guys? I had to walk away because I trusted God that much. I said, if He gave us answers from my son, He will not let me down. And I have to be the voice for other people that are also searching for answers. So that led to theessentialnurse.com. The initial name was going to be something else. It was Essential Living. And then 2020 happened, and I said, heck no. I am the essential nurse. People need to hear what I have to say. So that's where the name came from. And in my mind, I thought, how amazing would it be if I could create a team of nurses who think just like me, and we could create a difference for other people. And that was the beginning of what I do now. Then, of course, the business thing started. We had our business challenges. We ordered our machine, went through all the schooling, ordered the machine. And because of what was happening in 2020, we had to set back 8 months of no device. We were paying overhead. We were paying rent, trying to figure out, gosh. And then I started to question, maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do. Maybe it's me wanting to do this, and maybe this is really not God's will for my life. But you know what? I learned patience. I learned God really, taught me how to be still. And I thought I was patient. I really thought I was patient my whole entire life. And during those 8 months that I had no device, I was paying overhead, trying to figure this out. God taught me to be still. Be still and patient. And He taught me patience. That was the biggest thing that I learned in those 7 to 8 months, that I was paying overhead. I really, my device was not there. I learned patience. And now we're in business. We are in business. And that leads to today. So that's a short version of my story. For those of you who have wanted to know what my story is, that is the short version. There's details in between, but of course we would need more time. I hope that you guys I find value in this. You guys through this have learned a little bit more about who I am and why I do what I do. It's not just a business. There is purpose. There is integrity. There is a lot more than just a business. I hope you guys have an amazing Saturday. I hope you guys have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. Happy Nurses Week to those of you who have who has celebrated Nurses Week this week. And all right, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Any questions, feel free to reach out. I love you guys. Have an amazing weekend. See you soon.